So next up is Molly and her mum, Jenny. Molly's going to talk to us about, quite literally, fighting diabetes. Molly's just 14 and totally changed hobbies since her diagnosis. So I'm going to not steal her thunder. Let's see what did she move to. Have a listen. A fantastic presentation coming up. Over to you.
Out here in the fields, I fight for my meals. I get my back into my living. Don't raise your eyes. It's only teenage wasteland. It's only teenage wasteland. Teenage wasteland.
That video was me from the start of when I started boxing to now, and this is sort of the journey through it. So, at first, I got not well, poorly. I got an ear infection, and it made my eardrums pop, and it was through that infection that I got diabetes. They said the hospital. So after I'd finished all taking care of my ears, I still weren't very well. I got really sick, so I lost a lot of weight and I was sleeping a lot. I was drinking a lot of water, all the time, which is what happens with most type 1s. So my mum and dad asked if I could go for a blood test at the hospital, and it come back as type 1. So I stayed overnight, 2 nights I think, and then they sent me home because I flushed all my ketones and they taught us the basics, so they sent us home. So when I first got diagnosed, I was already active, so I did trampolining and I did figure skating, and I was dancing at the time. And the thing I was most worried about was if I was still able to dance, because I didn't really know anything about it. And they said yeah, so I went back to dance after getting diagnosed at first, and I struggled a lot with it because I was in the honeymoon period, so my pancreas was still giving off bits of insulin, but at random times, sort of. So I was getting really long hypos, which were making me shattered, and then finger pricking all the time, which was new, which really hurt my hands. And I was quite annoyed because I couldn't do everything the same way I'd done it before, but still danced. So when I first got diagnosed, the Libra had first come out, so they were still trialling it and doing tests on it to make sure it was all right. And I got it self-funded at first, which I was really lucky to be able to do because it made a massive impact on everything I could do. It helped me get better control over my bloods. It helped me stop hypos before they happened. It let me go away with trips to the school because they felt they could take me just because I had this bit of technology. And when I was competing with my dance, I wouldn't have been able to do it without it because I didn't have time in between them. So it was like better when I was on the go. So it also meant that through the night I weren't being woken up all the time, so I wasn't as tired. And then because it gives the arrow, it made it a lot easier for me to look back at it as well, to know what time I'd go up, what time I'd go down, how things affected it. And my honeymoon period lasted a good 2 years, maybe a bit less. And I don't think I could have done it without the Libra. And as I've gotten older, it's let me take care of myself more, so it's not like a responsibility on everyone else. But they still help me. So in January 2020, I didn't want to dance anymore. Just didn't want it. So I tried boxing, and I wanted to go to Halton Riverside, which was right across the road from the old club, and it was bizarre. It was such a big change, and it made me, just because the actual training I was doing, I was a lot fitter and healthier, so I didn't need as much insulin. It reduced my ratios, and it reduced me lever my base, by quite a bit, and it helped me level out my bloods a bit because it was such a, like, how do you describe it? It was so scheduled and everything was always on time in the club, so I could plan around it, which made it a lot easier. And my coach, he was so willing to, like, learn about it, so that made a really big help. And it helped me eat better, so I was eating healthier because of my training. And it helped me learn about how different types of things affected me in different ways, so I could plan around it, like I said before. So without the Libra, I don't think I would have been able to box at all, because if I'm in the ring and I've got my gloves on and I think I feel a bit, like, wrong, I can just scan rather than getting my gloves off and finger pricking, and in case anything's on my hands, and it'll affect my bloods and my blood reading. So it is a really big help. And if someone else in the club, one of the coaches, thinks that there's something wrong, they can scan me rather than in case I don't feel it. So it also helps, like, preventing anything. And it helped me get me better control, so because I could look back on it, I could control it better. And that's the only way I got my boxing licence, which I wouldn't be able to fight without. And then, because we can add notes to it, it's like a reminder on how food and training and what sort of things I did affected it in which way, which helped me overall think massively when I went back to the hospital. And I can see where I'm going before it makes me feel a bit sick.
Okay, so Molly makes it sound really easy, but it's not. It's been a difficult 2 years for her. 1 year due to being badly treated by a previous club, and then the second year when she started boxing, but in a good way. She's the way the training's been, it's been so difficult for her, and what nobody ever sees is the way it affects the exercise and everything affects her once she's done it. So when she comes home, about 6 weeks into the training, she was starting to drop. She had to drop weight. So for the first 6 weeks, it just wasn't moving at all. And our team at Whiston were absolutely fantastic with our nutritionist, and they were explaining that the insulin makes her hungry and that won't help. And then about 6 weeks in, this weight just started dropping off her. We weren't sure whether the training had caught up with the diabetes or the diabetes had caught up with the training, but she started dropping weight really fast. And that was a bit of a struggle, because everything that we'd done to get her even level was all starting to go out of range again. So one of the main problems we had was that she was hypoing through the night a lot. So when that 6 weeks kicked in, then every hour, on the hour, hypo, 15 minutes treat, 15 minutes again, hypo again. So from that, the Libra was brilliant, because we were struggling to get her to be, to keep them hypos from stopping. But we ended up changing to the Libra 2 because it alarmed on it, but we found that not to be perfect. So it wasn't, the technology's good, but it's not perfect and it doesn't do everything for you. When she was dropping the weight and the hypos were happening, over a period of a week, like Molly said, we had to drop 11 more, so we were following the rules. But we found the Libra quite difficult to, when she was out of control, to bring it back into control. So sometimes our decision is that we will remove the Libra, or we'll wait till it runs out, we'll remove it, go back to finger picking, get her back in range, and then go back to using the Libra. That's our choice. And the reason we do that is because we find sometimes that we are over managing it. So when you're trying to get her back into control, you're constantly scanning. When you make a change, instead of waiting your 2 hours if it's a correction, you're constantly scanning to see if she's going down. If it's not going down, it's a bit of a panic. So we were finding that for Molly, it was really giving us sleepless nights. After the 6 weeks, when in that period of that week, her Levemir dropped by 30 units. So the actual exercise has done her overall or diabetes control massive improvement. One of the things she wants people to know about is that when she changes from exercise type, from aerobic to anaerobic to explosive, and she does all these different kinds of training, that it has a massive impact on her emotions. So what was happening is she'd come out of training and her bloods would say that she was like normal and in range and stable, but she had this massive sadness about her, and she'd cry and she'd rant. It's hard to explain without seeing it. She was talking absolute rubbish, and it would last for about an hour. And then she realised that it wasn't a real sadness. It was caused by what we found out was a fluctuation of her bloods from all the different kinds of training that she was doing in that session. And that lasted until we kind of got control of the adrenaline. You get out of the technology what you put into it. So we used it very differently with the boxing than we did with the dance. So with the dance, we generally used it to see what direction she was going. With the boxing, we use it from the Libra View point of view. So we use it for a planned tool for her. It isn't perfect. The alarms don't really work. We've turned them off at the moment, but the Libra 2 is fairly new. We're not giving up on it. We'll try it again in a couple of Libras down. We get compression lows. They can be a problem for her, because when on the nights that she is stable and you'll go in to check her and you don't know she's been laying on it because she's moved, the Libra will read that she's low, so then you're waking her to blood prick to double check, and it will be out a little bit. The technology doesn't do everything for you. You still have to use it in the right way to be able to get control and to allow them to do whatever they want. And I think most importantly about it all is that you need good people around you, that are willing to use it to allow her to do whatever she wants to do. And for Tom, from the minute we took her in the gym, his first thing when I told him she was type 1 was, well, she might not be able to fight, but she's more than welcome to train with us, but we'll find out. And he's never treated her any differently than the other kids. He trains her in exactly the same way. But he understands and he's willing to learn that we have to manage our bloods around it. So without that and without that support, she would never be where she is now. And now she's fight ready. It's took her a good 12 months to get there, a lot of hard work, a lot of sleepless nights. She lost her summer holidays because it was taking her body a lot longer to recover. But without the Libra and the Libra View, we wouldn't be able to manage the short-term changes. So now she's getting ready to fight. She's been told last night, no extra classes. But for anybody without diabetes, they can go home and just get on with it. For us, we go back on the Libra View, find out what happened last time she was told she couldn't train, and then we'll make a decision from there. Are we going to alter the levels of her insulin to reflect that change? But if without other people being willing to help her out and to be able to do things with her, then she wouldn't be able to fight. So tonight when she goes to a fight, the coaches, they will scan for it. It will come through to me as long as there's Wi-Fi, and I'll just send them a message back while they're still learning, because it's a first fight, that everything's okay. But if we didn't have that technology, we wouldn't be able to do it.
So tech's completely changed my life. Without it, I wouldn't be able to box the way I do. I wouldn't be able to take it any further than just a hobby. And it's let me do the thing I love most, because it's opened up so many opportunities for me that I wouldn't be able to go through without this little bit of tech. And it's opened me up as well to looking at different types. So the pump is new. They've got different variations of that. That looks like it could give me better control. It is a massive help, but if you don't put in the effort on your side, it won't help you at all, really. Yeah, that's it.
Your story, an absolute inspiration.
Thank you. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry.
How's your training going?
Go.
She's having a little cry.
Brilliant. Oh, bless. I've just been listening to your story. I've been listening to your mother as well. And honestly, whatever your mum just said, it happens with me. Keep in touch. Keep up your good work. When your mum was speaking, honestly, everything she said, I thought she's speaking about myself then, because it happens to me.
I'm excited.
And just enjoy yourself, Molly, and your next bout. I'd love to come and, cheer you on.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Now, how absolutely amazing was that? I mean, amazing story from Molly and her amazing mum, Jenny. I mean, it's brilliant. And Molly, big inspiration. We love what you're doing. Boxing license at your age. Wow. I mean, breaking all the molds. Keep fighting. And I would love to know more about it. So tell you what we'll do is, I know you, Molly, are watching this along with your mum. And, some of we do a event with for type 1 diabetes people in London. And we're doing one. It's called TAD. We're doing one next year. So why don't you and your mum come down to London as my guest? I'll sort everything out. I'll talk to Claire and other people in Diabetes UK. We'll work out the details. But come as my guests, both of you. And it'll be a good chance to meet and we'll catch up. And Mohammed, fantastic, absolute star. I've known Mohammed for some time, always been sort of bowled over by what he provides, the support he gives, and how much he's fought through everything. Not the usual thing about, he's had his doctor say, don't bother. But he's an absolute inspiration, what he's done, and fantastic supporter. Became the first boxer with type 1 diabetes to box professionally, something I'm sure Molly will follow in the footsteps of. He's continued to excel in his profession. He's an inspiration for a lot of young people. And easy to see why Molly's a role model as well. And I hope you both get to meet up soon. Let's see whether we can get, the good old Mohammed to pop down for the day as well. So we'll all have a get together in that day in London. As I said, we'll pass some details across after this meeting and we'll get something sorted.